Welcome back to the next episode of Perspectives with Jeremiah Stephenson, and I'm your host, Jeremiah Stephenson. I don't have any updates like I did in the last episode, so as always, we're just going to jump right on into it. Today we have Lane Silva. Lane, you are what are you? Give us some, what do you do?
An aspiring career musician.
Inspiring, but has completed several things. So you're already kind of there. You're continuing on your way there.
I'm doing some things, but I'm trying to keep moving forward.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like the humility.
Yeah, I don't know about that. So primarily at the moment, I'm a private music instructor.
Okay.
That's most of what I do, but I obviously play in bands and have been dabbling in the world of composition for music for film.
Nice.
So that's been those three categories are probably most of what I spend my time with.
Gotcha. And you are the head of Goodfires, the band. Mm-hmm. Earlier in the series, I think episode 3, we had Tim Dunkard on.
Oh, yeah.
Which is pretty sweet. And since that, you guys have released an album this year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What is the name of that album?
It's Everyone You Love Will Be There. We released it this summer. And it was really cool. I actually did all the engineering and recording and stuff like that for that.
Nice.
So
we'll jump back to that because that's going to be a portion of it.
Okay.
So let's start off with, who are you? What is your story?
The long version.
We can do a 15-minute, 20-minute version.
Well, originally from Brunswick, Georgia. I grew up there, and I feel like I don't really. I mean, other than small specific things, I feel like I was just a kid until I was like 10, and I feel like that's when I kind of became more of like a person.
Yeah.
And that's when I started playing piano. I had begged my mom for like a year to to take lessons, and she was like, "Well, I didn't think you'd really stick with it, but you asked for like a year." So that's when I started playing music. And I think that was kind of the time where like I actually started listening to music.
Gotcha.
Which is why I mentioned it as like sort of this big milestone in my life is, and then from there, I started playing guitar when I was 12. And by the time I was like 14 or 15, I knew I wanted to pursue music as like a career. Mm-hmm. I didn't really quite know how. I was still learning. I think at that point I was really interested in like studio work and like recording and stuff. But and at that point even I was considering like music school. But as I got older, I kind of was scared of that idea. Kind of discouraged. I mean, like a lot of people were like, "Yeah, I don't know, like that's cool or whatever, but you can't really get a job." And I was like, 16-year-old me is like, I don't even know what that means. Like, so
what is this thing?
Yeah, and but another big moment I think in my a big milestone moment in my life is when I was 16. I think I had just started driving. My mom had a longtime friend and coworker named Laura, and Laura's husband is Mike, and Mike had some old recording equipment that he had received from his brother-in-law, Paul. So Mike, I guess, had all this stuff, and he had like all the fun he was going to have with it, I guess. And he was like, "Well, you're doing music stuff. You should take it. All you have to do is come pick it up from my house." So I went over there, and he gave me like literally like pretty much a miniature studio worth of equipment.
Wow.
I had everything I needed to record
nice
music. And that's when I started. Like, I remember that night I got home, I set it all up, and there were some manuals for everything, and I just sat there trying to, like, learn. I mean, It was, like, very archaic. I had, like, this... I still have it. It's actually on my desk right now.
Nice.
It's a digital multi-tracker, so it's, like, a little mixer, and it has, like, a built-in hard hard drive that records everything. You can burn CDs on it and everything.
Do you still use it?
I do. Not for recording as much,
okay.
But I do use it as a mixer for things. And then... I actually do want to experiment with like recording on it because I feel like it would probably have some artifacts like sonically, but we'll get there. That was really huge. I mean, very lucky that Mike was like, "Hey, you should have it." I don't need it. Yeah, I mean, take it. Very random. I mean, because I'd grown up knowing them and stuff, but it was just such a crazy moment, and it's a moment that like I feel like really shifted my life. Mm-hmm. Because a few years later, I had at this point bought my first computer that I was doing music on. It was a MacBook, and I met Paul. His name's Paul Bodemer, and This is the guy who originally owned the studio equipment.
Okay.
Yeah. I kind of skipped that part, but he originally owned it. And I showed him what I had been doing, and he was like, "You did this with my old shit?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did." He's like, "All right, cool. You need to come to Atlanta, and I'll come, and you need to meet this guy, Mark." And I believe he mentioned Marshall as well. And I was like, "Cool, yeah, I love that." And he was like, "Yeah, these dudes they're doing some cool stuff up there. Like, you need to come hang out and learn." He's like, "That would be perfect for you." And I was like, "Awesome." So, like, some amount of time later, I'm on my way to Atlanta.
Okay.
And I'm, like, on the way, and I'm going to Mark's house. I don't know who Mark is.
Yeah.
I'm going to Mark's house. And
when was this from the time you got all of Paul's equipment? Was this a couple years later?
Probably about 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I was, like, 18.
Okay, cool,
I think.
cool.
Yeah, maybe 18, I think.
All right.
So I'm driving to Atlanta, and, like, halfway there, Paul calls me. He's like, "Hey, man, I can't make it. I'm not going, but you should still go." And I was like,
okay.
Well, I'm like, I don't know this dude. Like, I'm driving across the state to go stay at someone's house I don't know. I was like, that's spooky.
Yeah.
Like, and at that point, I was like, I mean,
I
was younger than I am now, so I was like, what? I have no idea what that'll be like. Weird. But I get there and I meet Mark, and this is another, like, huge moment, milestone in my life, is I met Mark. And me and Mark hit it off immediately. And since then, and to this day, Mark is still one of my best friends and someone I talk to regularly.
Awesome.
But on top of that, he's been a huge mentor for me. I mean, he has taught me most of everything I know about recording. I mean, obviously, I've worked with different people here and there, but probably the most of my knowledge comes from Mark. And I mean, I think earlier, before I got here today, I called Mark and was picking his brain about something. Like,
nice.
Yeah, I mean, so, like, I talk to him all the time. But from there, that's actually what inspired me to move to Atlanta.
Gotcha.
Was I wanted to finish school. I wanted to go to a different school than Coastal. And Coastal Georgia.
Coastal Georgia.
Coastal
Georgia.
Yeah. So
was it still a 2-year college at that point?
No, it was 4 year. It was 4 year when I got in.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
It had just turned. Yeah, but so I know that I wanted to get out of there, and I kind of wanted to move forward with Mark doing studio work. And at that time, that was more of a prospect than it ended up really being. But so I kind of moved here mostly for that, and then I went to school, and then from there I started teaching, which was really great for my musicianship. Like, it helped me grow as a musician in ways, and then I mean, through Mark, I mean, that's one of the biggest things about how Mark had an impact on my life. Was, I mean, he's the guy who got me set up teaching, and he used the network that he had to give me work. Yeah. And that's how I've been able to provide for myself and my family right now. Yeah. So, like, a really huge moment in my life. Nice. And so I love Mark deeply for that.
Let's jump back to, like, your childhood, like, as a person. Okay. Like, who were you as a kid?
Man, I was, as a little kid, I was an asshole. I used to pinch and punch people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was mean.
Damn.
When I was like 4, I used to cuss and stuff. There's really? I have some really great stories of me, like, swearing as a child.
Do you have one now?
Yeah. My favorite one, I think, was, like, I might have been, like, between the ages of, like, 4 and 6.
Okay.
I maybe 5 and 6, somewhere around there. But we were on a boat, and I used to be scared of boats because the Titanic. Like, I was a kid when I saw that, and that was like,
you saw it as a kid?
Dude, if that big boat sank, I'm on, like, a little ass boat. Like, I thought I was gonna die. Yeah. And, like, we were out in, like, a river. I was with my folks, and like, I guess some, like, dark clouds rolled in, and, like, lightning and thundered. Oh, God. And I just turn around, like, tears in my eyes, and I'm like, I told y'all this was bullshit. Yeah. I mean, like, the worst part was, like, I from all accounts, from what I can tell, like, as a kid, I knew how to use them. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say, because that's, like, as a kid, that's the perfect placement for that.
Another one that's real funny was, like, I was in pre-K, and I had, like, a lunchbox, and I couldn't get it into my cubby hole. Okay. Remember cubbies back?
Yes,
yeah,
I
do,
do.
Right?
I absolutely remember cubbies.
Nostalgia. But I couldn't fit it in there because I'm bad at shapes. But I'm, like, trying to put it in there, and the teacher's like, what are you doing? Yeah. And I'm like, this thing's about to piss me off. At this point, I was like 4. I mean, like, yeah. So I don't know what was wrong with me.
Did you hear your parents cursing a lot growing up?
I don't know about that. I think my parents were both pretty good, but I think overall, like, my extended family and everybody, like,
just like, shit, goddamn.
Everyone kind of cusses on my dad's side of the family more so.
Yeah. Did you see yourself grow out of that? Like, how did, or
I did. I became like a huge goody.
Okay.
Like after 3rd grade, especially. Like,
was there anything in particular that like pushed you towards being a goody?
I don't know. I think I had like a weird, like at some point I think I had this crazy sense of guilt that came up when I did wrong. And I think it's because I was an ass. And I think one day I got in trouble and, you know, I think my parents have always been, I think that they're empathetic and sympathetic people. And so I think one day I did something bad and I think they explained it to me and I felt really bad about it. Yeah. And I think that kind of shifted. Not to mention that, like, you know, growing up with my parents, they're pretty black and white in terms of like, here's right and here's wrong. Yeah. And here's what happens when you do right and here's what happens when you do wrong. Gotcha. And there's not really any mystery about like what's going to happen. Yeah. You know exactly, like, if you do X, this happens and it just does. Yeah. And I think between all of that, at some point, I kind of, and some of it's probably just growing up a little bit, like, you know, when you mature as a kid, like I think I had a moment where I was like, oh, this is bad. I don't want to do bad things. I want to be good. And so that kind of happened until I think I was in middle school when I kind of loosened up because like I didn't cuss for like a long time. Yeah. I probably stopped cussing in I remember cussing in 3rd grade with my friends, and then I like stopped. Like, I remember feeling like I'm not gonna do that anymore. Like that's bad. Yeah. And then like in 6th or 7th grade, I started again. What
was your middle school and high school years like?
Middle school was pretty cool. I went to a small Catholic school.
Little Catholic children.
Yeah, I was raised in a Catholic school my whole life.
St. Frederica?
Francis.
St. Francis.
Yeah,
okay.
St. Francis.
Gotcha.
Xavier.
St. Francis Xavier, my middle name. Hey,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Daggum. It was really cool. I mean, it was a really small school. My graduating class of 8th grade was all of 18 kids.
Oh, wow.
Yes, 18 kids total. And, you know, it was just a small, just group. I mean, and it was kind of intimate in that way. Like, everyone knew everyone.
Did y'all kind of like stay together over the years, or
kind of? I mean, high school was where definitely that was, I think, the first time in my life where you kind of saw people like grow apart, you know, and kind of like really go in different directions. Because being at St. Francis, like you're all together. Yeah. You know, so even like, you know, even when you got older at St. Francis, it's like there wasn't like another class for your friend to end up in. And maybe they ended up in honors English and you didn't see them for that period, but like, it was just one period. But there was a bunch of shared periods, so you eventually saw them anyway. Yeah. You know, that kind of thing. But it was just really cool. That's when I really started falling in love with music and guitar, especially. I actually had a music class at school, and me and Cliff Bragdon and Mitch Kilroy. And
Mitch Kilroy?
Yeah, he went there.
I haven't heard that name in forever. Yeah, I used to work with that dude.
Mitch Kilroy.
Oh my god!
And another kid we went to school named James Smith.
Wait, Mitch Kilroy. I'm thinking of another Mitch. I totally know that Mitch. Sorry, just got really excited. Thought of another Mitch. Oh, okay. This like backwoods, skinny, redheaded Mitch. I used to lifeguard with him, but Mitch Kilroy. We all know him. Yeah, okay. I don't know why the hell my mind went there.
It's all right. It happens like that. But we used to have this music class, and we would hang out and play guitar, and that's, I think, where I really started. Like, we did that. I don't think it was every day. Maybe it was. Actually, it was every day. We did that every day in the morning for like 50 minutes. Okay. We just got to get together and play guitar, and you know, we were learning songs to try to play with each other, and that was like my first experience with like a band. We didn't have a drummer or anything, but like that was my first time like having friends to play music with, and we got to do it at school, which was like really cool because that's just awesome. We had an opportunity to play.
What were your musical influences at the time?
A lot of classic rock, a lot of like southern rock. I was really big into Lynyrd Skynyrd. I still kind of am. They have a place in my heart. I think they're in some ways underrated.
Really?
Yeah. They have 3 guitar players, and I think it's pretty cool that band doesn't sound like they have 3 guitar players, because those 3 guitar players knew how to play together, and instead of like, it never feels too crowded, which I feel like even playing with 2 can feel crowded. Yeah. So it's really, I think that's just a little tidbit for me.
No, that's totally cool.
But I learned a lot of like those songs, a lot of Led Zeppelin. So I had like a lot of classic rock that was really big, and then I think some of the stuff that I liked that was modern. I ended up not learning as much of, because like, I don't know, some of the stuff I liked had different tunings. So like, I didn't like tuning my guitar to different tunings. It just felt weird. I could never make it sound right.
Yeah.
So I just like to stay to standard.
Okay.
Which I still do to this day. Like 15 years later. But that was like a really cool, I don't know. It was a different sort of thing for me. And yeah, so that was my middle school.
So high school, what was your high school like? High school time. Let's talk about like who you were as a person at that time and struggles. Did you have any struggles?
Yeah.
And music, because I want to continue to keep music as a part of this entire thing, like how you grew with music.
So high school was really cool. That was my first like divergence into like a public school, or divergent. I mean, I guess my first like entry, rather, is a better word. Because I live in this, this like small community of people. And so it was really cool to kind of get out of that and experience something new, which was really fun. And I think high school was awesome because I met more friends. That's where I started playing in a band my freshman year. I met a guy named Matt Mitchell, who's still a good friend of mine. And he started playing drums with me, and then me, Mitch, Cliff, and Matt started a band. And I think it was I feel like that was like a very passionate moment in my life, like 9th and 10th grade especially, because like getting out of like middle school, I was now in high school, and I think that like I think my parents kind of changed a little bit of the way that they like treated me, in terms of like I kind of had, I think, a little bit more freedom, and especially like having met more friends that had similar interests and things I had in common, both musically and not. It was a really cool moment to like, I don't know, kind of develop as a person. I feel like I really kind of grew in different ways there. Mm-hmm. But I got to play a lot of music with my friends, and I feel like that was a moment where my skill set was developing quickly. And one of the cool things that happened was like my first day of my freshman year, I walked back to St. Francis and got a job.
Oh, wow.
Like I actually like walked from school and like asked for a job, and they gave it to me.
That's what's up.
So I was 14 and had a job.
Nice.
And I just started spending it on music stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, so since I was like 14, I mean, and a little bit before, but like, I mean, I had a job and I didn't do anything other than like play music and occasionally buy video games.
Nice.
So like that was when I kind of started buying pedals, which is now a huge part of my life.
Oh yes, I've seen your setup.
It would be. Yeah,
I've seen your setup.
But like I would do stuff like that, and it was really cool. Now where my high school career kind of shifted was once I started. By the time I started driving, I think I had kind of broken apart from some of my friends. Like, I think some of my friends just went in different directions, and like they got interested in other stuff. And around that same time, I started dating a girl and I feel like that relationship was just kind of like a little constricting. Mm-hmm. Like I was young and dumb, and like, I didn't really know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so I think I made some mistakes there that in the moment were kind of stunting my growth. But But all that really happened was the way that I grew changed. So like, I wasn't playing with a band as much there, and I think in some ways, I think at some point, I don't actually recall, and so guys, I'm sorry, but I think at some point around there, I got into like a spat with the guys I was playing in a band with.
Really?
I think so. I don't really remember there being anything specific. I think we just kind of stopped hanging out, and then I think it just kind of fizzled into nothing, and they were doing more cool stuff, and I was not at the time. But anyway, around the time, I think I was a little older, I was writing a lot of music. Mm-hmm. And I started hanging out with Tim Dunker around my junior year, and Chris. So I started hanging out with them more, Chris Humphrey, and doing stuff with them. And I was playing a lot with them. We were doing some recording. And then by the time I was 18, I got my MacBook. So I think I was a senior. It was after I graduated. And that's kind of when I started like just spending like bukus of time recording and writing. Actually, when I was 18, from the time I was like 18 to like 20, I wrote and recorded a whole album by myself. Really? Yeah, in my bedroom. I had like a studio set up in there, and nice. And I wrote like 10 songs that I did by myself.
Do you still have that?
I have it somewhere.
You need to find that.
It's not posted.
I know. I was going to say, we can go to the vault of Mr. Silva.
Yeah, I never technically finished it. I mean, that was like... I had no idea what I was doing. Like I didn't have anything to do it. I mean, I had a 99-cent drum application on my iPad that and I would make all my drum beats and I would record it into my computer.
Okay.
And then I would I would do the guitar and the synth work and all that stuff and I that was like another creative explosion for me, and I spent so much time doing it. And then like I kept on just trying to perfect it and redo, and that was like that was around the time I started like writing songs where I was singing. I had never really done any singing up until then, and it was pretty much because I wanted to write music, and I didn't really have the people to do it with. I mean, I didn't know people who were trying to do that, and probably because I was more isolated because I was stupid, but I was making myself do it instead, and so that was like a big moment. And like I said, I kept on like doing and revising and doing and revising, and kind of was like, well, it's not good yet. And then that's right around the time I met Mark shortly after, and I showed him the stuff. That album was the stuff that I showed Paul.
Gotcha.
And then that's when I met Mark.
Gotcha.
So that album was a part of that. Yeah.
So college years, what was that like? And then we'll go into the band and then go from there.
College was more or less the same. My first few years, I was figuring stuff out, and I was still dating that girl. I dated her for like 4 years.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think I was still being like limiting myself via that, but at the same time, still applying myself massively in like recording and writing, and so I was just doing a lot of that stuff. Yeah. I mean, that was most of what that whole time was like. And I think that's when I started hanging out with Tim a lot. We kind of connected at Coastal, and he kind of showed me a lot of the music that I think is influenced what I'm up to now. Like that's when I was introduced to a band called Hammock, a 2-piece ambient band from Nashville, who's like to this day, like probably one of my all-time favorite bands, just point blank, period.
Nice.
And that was really cool. I started making more like electronic music and a little bit more like, I don't know, just more thoughtful music. Like I think that the stuff that we were listening to was really inspiring. And then he and I, this kind of goes into the next part of with the Goodfires, was then like me and Tim started like teaming up and doing more stuff. And we occasionally would work with Chris Humphrey and I mean, I did stuff with Nathan Harris, who's awesome. He's a great musician as well. And I was hanging out with Tristan at the time, Tristan Walker. And he and I actually like fizzled out and didn't talk for a few years until recently. And we reconnected in. That's good. But we'll get there too. But yeah, so like I was playing music with a bunch more people at this point, and so I started hanging out with Tim more. And one of the cool things that I think was really good for my growth with Tim was he and I started doing this thing where he would come over after we got off work, and we would try to write a whole song in one sitting. Okay. And that was the goal. You don't come with any ideas. It's like, let's sit here and work something out. That's actually how Flashback was written from the first Goodfires EP. Was like, it actually started because my neighbor gave me a drum set. And I had mics, so I was like learning to record drums, which is like there's like a whole art to it, and to do it like well.
I've played around with it, and all my shit sounds like shit.
It's weird,
but it's not easy.
And so I had this drum set set up I had like the closet that I had in that room was pretty big, so I had it set up in there, and I was like, Tim, I don't know, play something summery, like play something that sounds like summer. Yeah. And he played the drums for what would become Flashback. Gotcha. And like I wrote the guitar part, I think either that night or the next day, and we started working. And then I wrote the lyrics like later that week, and then Flashback was written like then. Wow. Yeah, and that's where a lot of the songs from the first EP started writing. You know, Wildflower, Follow Me. Actually, I think Morning Sun. All that stuff was kind of written around that time. And that was just from us kind of getting together and jamming. Because Goodfires was a 2-piece band. At that point, we weren't Goodfires. We were just Tim and Lane goofing around. Tim and Lane playing some instruments. Yeah. And we were exploring and stuff like that. And that was like a really cool like time of exploration. We were just kind of like, I mean, we didn't know what we were doing, both as we were writing, but also like, I didn't know how I was recording stuff. I was just like, let's try to do this, and then we would just try to make it work, and that was the whole thing. And this goes into how we got the name Goodfires. It was me, Tim, and our friend Nathan Harris, and I had one of my neighbors was Smokey the Bear. Just an aside. And at some point I had talked to him about ecology or environmental science or something, and we were talking about like forest fires, and he told me, because if you remember that, I don't know if you don't,
there's no such thing as a bad, there's like
close. So
like
at one point it was the whole like outlook was that fires were bad, but we've like as science developed or studies developed, like we realized that like there are healthy wildfires. It's just that they had to be actual wildfires and all that kind of stuff, whatever. But they had changed their view, and the sign said "Good fires prevent bad ones."
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Hell yeah.
And so he gave me a sign, and so the sign was like I had a bunch of just like random shit on my walls. Yeah. And Nathan was like, "How about Good Fires?"
Nice.
And me and Tim were just like, because finding a band name is so hard. That's so hard.
You can do like a Childish Gambino thing, put it in a generator, and like come out with some weird shit.
I would be saying we have.
Oh really?
I don't know if me and Tim did, but my first band did that.
Okay,
we had some pretty awful shit.
Do you remember any of them?
The only one I really remember was Epic Pariah.
Epic Pariah.
Yeah, and we were like,
that's interesting.
Like, how about a big old fat no?
No, take that shit somewhere else.
Yeah, like absolutely not. And so that was when Goodfires, I guess, became Goodfires, and we started playing and writing a lot. And we were a two-piece. Goodfires played their first show on a date that I do not recall, but but I met two bands on tour. They were from Massachusetts. It was Great Smokey and oh no, I could have named them any other day of the week. Wide-Eyed.
Wide-Eyed. Okay.
Yeah, and they were coming through town. And we were like, well, they had a day off. They had played in Savannah the night before. And I was like, well, let's throw a show. Yeah. So Nathan and Alex James came, and I was their bass player for Famous Explorers. Okay. At that point, we played. Then Goodfires played, me and Tim.
Nice.
And then those two bands from Massachusetts played. And that was like really cool. That was a really awesome like thing. I met some really cool people. I love those people. Yeah. They're really nice, and it was a cool opportunity because I was kind of butting into like more creative music side of things, I guess. And it was cool to that's my first like real network with bands. Yeah. And I think at that point, me and Tim were like, we definitely should get a bass player. And we'd kind of talked about it, but I just don't really think we found anybody that we like clicked with. Because I think with Goodfires, we've always kind of done like weirder, like less traditional things. Yeah. And I think that with that in mind, that we were kind of like, we had a hard time picking like a person that was going to match with us. Yeah. So evidently, I had a class with Avery at one point, but I didn't know him. Okay. But Tim had a bunch of classes with him at this point. Nice. And Tim was like, there's this guy named Avery, and he says he plays bass. Want to invite him over? Yeah. And I was like, yeah, sure. Let's do it. We don't have any. See what happens. Yeah. So Avery comes over, and we like just start going through all of our songs, and Avery just clicks right in. Nice. Yeah. I mean, Avery's a really good musician, and he's got a really good ear, and he can just hop into anything. Yeah. And that's exactly what he did. He just hopped into all the songs we did. Nice. And like, I think we had a show in like 2 weeks. So we met up a bunch and practiced those songs. And then we played our first show in like, it was like December 6th. Nice. Or something like that. I think it was like the day before his birthday. He turned 21. He turned something. Okay. He turned some sort of age.
So what was the Goodfires is now a thing? What was the process of that first EP?
It was... In my opinion, I think we went in a little half-cocked with it. I was a little wide-eyed and didn't quite... too idealistic, perhaps. Yeah. So we went up to Mark's house and tried to record, and we had like 9 or 10 songs that we wanted to do. Yeah. And we were talking about it. We had like a week or something up there, and I was talking to Mark, and he was like, dude, I don't know if you can get like that many songs done. Like, you should probably just go forward with like 4 or 5. Yeah. And so we picked the ones we wanted to do. We kind of had an idea because some of the songs were darker tonally and some of them were brighter. So we did the brighter ones first. Okay. And Daylight, which is the opening track, we actually like improvised like shortly before recording because we wanted like an intro piece to kind of bring it in.
And I love Daylight. It's
really?
Dude, it's so dope. And then the lead in to the second track is just it's so
cool.
I love it.
Yeah,
I really do.
that was a very in the moment kind of thing because we definitely just wanted something to kind of help bring us into the EP. And I think, I mean, so we started that process. It took us like a year to do it, which is like pretty long. But I mean, we didn't really spend any money on it.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark pretty much let us use his whole thing for nothing. I mean, we paid him a little bit of money just as a courtesy. I mean, money that we could. He never asked us for anything.
Yeah.
So even the money we gave him, I mean, he was like, if you feel like giving me money,
like,
sure.
I'll take it.
Yeah. And now, I think part of where I think the album could have been better, because obviously, like, I'm a little critical of it.
Yeah, what do you think of it? What do you think of?
You know, I think it's really. I think the songs are really cool. Like, I think there's some really good ideas. I think the execution of those ideas was poor.
Yeah. In what way? How so?
I think some of the performances were weak all around, and I think the same thing about some of the production. Like, Mark kind of would help us get going, and then was kind of like, "It's you."
Yeah.
And that's awesome because, like, you know, I mean, Mark helped me out. Like, it was more of a favor to me than, like, us being like, Mark, you're going to engineer our stuff.
Right.
And him being like, definitely. Like, it was kind of like he kind of helped us get started. But a lot of the mixing, I mean, Mark kind of helped point it in the right direction, but then, like, I would kind of take over and do stuff. And I was just really inexperienced, especially with, like, working with a full band. I mean, I had always worked with recorded drums, like samples that were already recorded, that are the same every time.
Right.
Working with like a drum set with a drummer who plays, it's a different game. It's, you know, there's dynamic involved in a new way. And I was just utterly inexperienced, and, like, you know, and I think at the time I imagined that Mark was going to spend more time than he did. And I don't mean that as like a negative thing for him. But just like, I mean, how much time are you going to spend on a project that's not really yours, you know? Yeah. And I think, to his credit, I think he left it for us because, I don't know, I view that as being like one of my first real big challenges.
I was going to say, it definitely sounds like you learned from that experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, like, how did doing that and kind of not having him take over everything, how did that help you grow so that when you recorded the newest album?
I think the biggest thing was there was a moment where I learned how important. I mean, there's a few things, but I think one of the big ones was how important it is to get good on the front end of your work, both your performances and your production. Which might sound more obvious than it is, but, like, you know, there's a lot that goes into a performance. Not just playing the parts correctly, but playing them well. You know, like. You know, especially for drummers, I think it's difficult because, like, how hard you hit a cymbal can really make a difference. Even if you play it perfectly in time, if you hit that cymbal just too hard, it makes the engineer's job significantly harder to fix.
Gotcha.
You know, and that's like, and there's like, I don't know, like I said, there's a bunch of ways that this can kind of manifest because, like, well, you could, like, I don't know, do something like record the drums with no cymbals and then do a take with the cymbals. But, like, you know, trying to perform, like, record it like it's in the room, like you're performing with a band was kind of our goal. And I think that kind of hit me because I was like, oh, I need to engineer around that issue. But also, like, encouraging the three of us to, like, perform in a way that was more conducive to better recording too.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So it's like a kind of like a half and half in a way. Because, you know, you can also, like, try to engineer around it, but there's also a point where it's like it's on the performer too. Yeah. And that goes for every instrument. That's not just like, I'm not trying to just single out Tim.
Yeah. I went to see Arctic Monkeys last year.
Oh, wow.
And they literally sound like right off the album. And so hearing this, like, it confirms, like, oh, that's like you record like you're going to be performing.
Oh, absolutely.
Or like some people just record and then they'll figure it out later.
Yeah, and it's really weird because you can see that sort of, like, I don't know, you can see that process kind of get enacted in different ways. Especially because, like, I don't know, there's just, I've heard stories of bands that, you know, like, I did know a band that did the thing where they recorded just the drums without any cymbals and then did a take with the cymbals.
Okay.
You know, nothing wrong with that. It offers some huge benefits in terms of like mixing.
Yeah.
But kind of strange at the same time because it's like, what a weird way to perform the drums, you know?
Yeah.
And like, not that that's a bad thing, but it's just interesting because like you can put the pieces together however you wish.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you can still end up with a song, and that's just kind of weird. I mean, not to mention like even the idea of multi-tracking. Like whenever Tim recorded his drums, I wasn't recording guitar at that time.
Right.
I would come back later and then do them.
Yeah.
What a weird idea. I mean, like, it's kind of trivial now,
yeah.
but like, what a weird idea. I was playing the Tim's tracks that he recorded months ago.
Yeah.
And now I'm in the future, like rearranging parts based on that performance.
One of the things, this is just a little side note, is I really think about film, like film editing, sound editing. Like, it's really, like, that is technically our time travel. Because, like, you record something at one point and then you can play around with it and we can manipulate it like in the simplest form. Like that is current day time travel.
Yeah, like, absolutely. And I mean,
to make something bigger than it really is.
And even to take that idea just a step farther. I mean, like when I think of music or film that really like resonates and touches me, like that takes me to a place every time.
Yeah.
No matter where I'm at,
or
no matter like what day it is, like I still go back to somewhere else, to some other moment in my life.
Yeah,
and that's kind of amazing.
Yeah,
like that's wild.
So in between both of those albums, you scored several movies.
Yeah, right around
short films and feature.
Yeah, right around then is where I was going back to the drawing board with the Goodfire stuff and writing ideas, but. Our good friend, Brandon Herron.
Hey, Brandon Herron.
Yeah, he hit me up for Riverview.
Okay. Yeah. And I actually AD'd on that.
Yeah.
For those listening.
He texted me one day and he was like, hey, you should score this film. And I was like, I've never done that. He goes, I know. I want you to try it. And I was like, yeah, I mean, sure.
Yeah.
And I can't thank him enough for being so inviting about it because like I didn't know what I was doing, but he was really encouraging and helpful. I mean, he gave me a bunch of really good references to listen to. And Brandon has constantly spoiled me as a composer because he's very organized and articulate with what he wants. Yeah. And he knows how to describe what he wants and doesn't want. And he's always just polite. You know, he's just nice to work with.
Yeah.
Like it's literally a pleasure.
So yeah, it is a pleasure. I've worked several short films with him. I was extra in one, AD'd that one. And then I did something else with him on another project. Every time, like he's such a true like professional, like a friendly professional. So it's such a pleasure.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how like experienced or inexperienced you are. Like he's really encouraging and you can ask him anything and he'll help you with what he knows.
Yeah, I didn't know half the shit I was doing. I was like 18, running around here being like,
so I did that film first, and that film opened up doors.
Yeah.
Because the next film I worked on was a 48-hour film contest. Because he got added on as an editor, and the people who added him were like, who did that music? And he was like, oh, this dude Lane in Atlanta. And they're like, does Lane want to work with us? Nice. And he was like, Lane does. And that's how I met all those people.
Okay.
And then and I still keep up with most of them, for the most part.
Sweet.
But doing that film opened up the next 3 that I did. One girl recommended me to a SCAD student. So my third film was a SCAD student film. I did a film called Stranded with a guy named Aaron Barnett, and Brandon actually was an actor in that one.
Nice.
And the lead actor was Corey Hollinger, who I met on the first 48 Hour.
Okay.
And then I did like another 48 Hour film contest with the same group, plus or minus some people. And I'm trying to think. That was all, I think, all from that group at the time. No, I did 2 48 Hours with them after that. I'm sorry.
Sweet.
Yeah, but I think I worked on a handful of other things between here and there.
Yeah.
But the Stranded one was really cool. I won 2 awards on that one. I did sound design, and because there wasn't really any sound design for the film, so I made my score with sort of implications of this of the sound design. It was on a beach, so I kind of added in some sounds that sounded like wind and stuff.
Okay. But
it was actually part of the score.
Nice.
So it was kind of cool. It got like a sound design thing on top of the score, which is cool. And I was really, really excited. I mean, I think Aaron and Corey did a really great job with that film, and they've actually won several awards
Nice.
on the film itself.
That's what's up.
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited about that one.
Yeah.
And that was a really challenging one. Like, it was just very different. And the film has no dialogue at all.
This is the one you were telling me about. Yeah.
And it was hard because, like, if you ever watch a silent anything, it feels long. It's like a 9-minute film with nothing in it until the very last scene. There's some sound design that was of him on the plane.
Okay.
This is the last scene. But and I think that, like, the director was kind of like, dude, it just feels like nothing happens. And it was, I think the key was the music.
Yeah.
Because without the music, it just felt like an eternity. I mean, he had these really long, dramatic shots. I mean, there's like, honest to God, I think some of my favorite shots in cinema history, or at least like from mine, in that movie.
Oh, nice.
And it was like they were filming during like a hurricane on Tybee. So like,
oh my God, that sounds beautiful.
Oh, dude, there's like this scene. I'll have to show it to you.
Yeah,
but there's like a shot where Corey's standing, and they're kind of filming like down, like onto him.
Yeah.
And you can just see the sand blowing in rows.
Oh my God.
Behind him.
That's what's up.
And it's like, it looks like something out of like a science fiction book.
Have you seen? Was it you that showed me the? There's a short film where they used the eclipse, where they literally shot around the eclipse.
That's cool.
It's really freaking cool.
That's
they
really
literally
cool.
had to like get all the timing, everything perfect to shoot with the eclipse.
Oh my God.
And it's like it's almost a one shot, and it's really good. I'll show it to you. It's really good. I think Matt may have showed it to me.
That's wild.
Yeah. So this year you got married. Congratulations.
2019 is the wildest year of my life.
Why, sir? What has happened this year aside from the album and your marriage? Give us a little bit of all that.
Well, so besides getting married, I just found out I'm having a kid.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
We thought it was a son.
Okay.
And we found out it's actually a daughter.
What?
Yeah. We did 2 genetic tests, and the first one said that it was a boy. Okay. So we thought we were having a boy for like a month.
Nice.
And then they were like, JK. I'm like, so we're actually having a little girl, and yeah, so that's been a huge one. I mean, that's been such a huge...
What is that feeling like of learning you're becoming a father? And then I want to hear the difference between knowing it's a boy and then finding out, oh, psych, it's a girl.
It's an amazing feeling. And don't get me wrong, at first it's overwhelming, but I don't mean overwhelming in the way that maybe it's easy to use that word. Mm-hmm. But there's just sort of that moment where like the gravity of that hits you, and like, or the way that it hit me.
Yeah. And
I was like, whoa, like I'm someone's dad. Like that's a thing. Like I'm someone's father.
Yeah.
And I think of all the stupid shit that I've ever done or said, and I'm like, that is someone's dad. And I'm like, that poor child. But you know, but there's sort of that moment where like, I don't know. I mean, it was weird because I've never experienced that many feelings with that intensity. Mm-hmm. Like I felt so many feelings all at once and so strongly when I found out that we were in it. And it was kind of like amazing. Like I would say it's kind of like an awe-striking thing. Yeah. Because you know you're kind of scared. You're like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like I struggle to keep my pants on. Like I can't give them up, and like I can't tie my shoes. Like
like what am I supposed to do with this other being?
Yeah, and I'm like, and I'm just, like I forget what I ate for breakfast, and I'm supposed to like care for like another thing. Yeah. That's not me, and I'm not even good at taking care of myself, right. And like that kind of thing. But there was kind of a. You know, but there's that, but there's also this like intense excitement where you're like, oh my God, like we created a human. Yeah. Weird. You know, and also like one of the other ones that struck me is like, not only did we create a human, but it's in your belly. Yeah. Like,
it's like right there.
Yeah.
This is weird.
I mean, like this week was the week that she's developed ears and can like hear. Oh wow! Like she could sense vibrations for a while, but like I can show her music. Nice. Now, are you doing that? Yes, I'm curating.
What music are you introducing to your little one?
I haven't done a lot yet, but a lot of Bon Iver. Nice. But also some Mozart. I'm actually talking with Mark. Again, thanks, Mark. I'm trying to kind of curate some really good like classical and orchestral stuff.
Nice.
I do want to expose my child to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's evidently been some studies about like that and like I guess helping them with I guess I don't know, like for just the shorthand, I guess makes them smarter.
Yeah, nice.
Helps them be better at stuff.
Yeah, my kid will be better. That's one of the things I'm excited about, like having a kid is just like making them better than everybody else's kid.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm like, fuck your kids.
Yeah. So I want to show her cool music and I don't know. Like I want to expose her to. I don't know. I feel like I wasn't exposed to a lot of music growing up. I mean, I definitely was, but like. I guess I'm more artistically interested than my family was. Yeah. So like I really want to show her like the art of music and show her music artistically. Yeah. Not just because it has a cool beat or something, which is nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But just that's what I want to do.
Where's the talent within it?
Yeah. Like and I really want to do that. Nice. I don't know why, and I'm still figuring that out, which is cool. But
yeah, she's not here yet. She's on her way. She's still cooking.
Yeah. We're like almost halfway there.
So when does she do?
On my birthday.
Oh, what? Oh my gosh, that's wild.
May 19th.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's wild.
What else has been going on this year that makes it such a transitional year?
Well, the first 6 months were spent on Everyone You Love Will Be There. Mm-hmm. We did a 14-day tour where we were promoting that. After I got back from the 14-day tour, shortly after, I started getting back into school. My last semester. I graduate in a few weeks.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. Then I moved. We moved. We got a bigger apartment in the same place. Mm-hmm. And then the night we finished moving, we found out we're having a baby.
Hell yeah.
Like a week after that, I got accepted for an internship at Third Rail Studios that I just concluded.
Hell yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah. So like all of that all at once. Yeah. I mean, it was just like boom, 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 boom. And yeah, it was a lot. I mean, it was like, man, when it rains, it pours, Yeah. It's just tons of things all at once, always.
Everyone's talking about how, like, it's the end of the decade and we're going into the next decade, and, like, hearing all that be the bookend to your decade, which is very much the prologue to the next, like, everything else in life. I didn't even
think about that. That's crazy.
What is so now that I put that in your head, like, what is that kind of, what are some of the things you're hoping for in the future?
I feel really good about what's going on. This year's been really challenging. It's been the hardest year of my life. Just in terms of like things that have been thrown at me, and then trying to like handle them and trying to step it up to be like better than I was. And it's been really cool because like I feel really good about all of those things, even the things that I didn't do my best at. Like I feel like like I learned. I took the hit and you gotta keep rolling. And I feel like looking at the big picture of what I hope my life ends up being, that I'm in a really good place with that. Like that internship at Third Rail Studios really helped me bring focus to what I wanted to do career-wise. Yeah. Because I've been teaching privately music lessons for a few years, and I have like technically my own business, which is cool. But like long term, I don't know if that's really like super sustainable, or like if that's really what I want to do like forever. Yeah. And so for a while, I've kind of been like, I don't know what I'm doing. Stuff, I guess, and like, and trying to get around that. But this internship really brought focus to that, because I got to really see that working in something like the film industry isn't really like this crazy like pipe dream. Yeah. I think growing up where I did, when I did, it's like the idea of having a job that's like creative but sustainable and can provide for a family. But this is kind of like, if you're lucky and you're really good. Yeah.
One of the things I'm super blessed, and I always tell people, is like once I moved up to Atlanta, it was amazing to see all of the creative people that have, like, I don't believe in the starving artist anymore. Like, because I've met people and I work with people, and like I get mentored by people that are living that creative life and getting paid for it, and are able to sustain families and businesses and so forth. So to be exposed to that here in Atlanta it's been such a godsend.
Absolutely. And I totally second that. I feel like I've experienced that myself. And that's one thing the internship kind of did. And I got to meet people who were working in the industries I was interested in, like sound and during production. And I feel like for the first time, like in my life, instead of trying to figure out what I want to do, I'm trying to figure out how to get there.
Yeah.
Because I know what I want to do.
Nice.
And I'm just trying to devise the plan.
Yeah. Because I have you here, and I love our conversations, is there anything you want to throw at me so that we can have our little, like, little anything?
I don't have anything off the top of my head right now. Do you have anything that you want to hit me with?
I don't know.
It's been a minute.
Just life in general, I feel like.
Oh, most of it's been about life.
Yeah.
We've both kind of been going through changes and stuff.
Growing, I guess, this year... I guess being in a relationship for me has been like a huge thing because I've realized how much more like my father I am, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
But
you see it now.
I do, and it's weird because I always saw myself as like my mom.
Yeah.
And so now in a relationship, I'm like, Leo will say something, be like, okay, and I'm like, so like my dad, and like even to the point like because I used to say like my dad's cheap. He always cheap. Leave like, you want to go out to dinner? I'm like, I mean, I got some chicken baked in the kitchen. Like, we need some chicken. So, like, that's been really cool to see my dad and myself, but to see where I can be better than him in areas and to see where I can be better than my mom in areas. So that's been really cool. Just learning how to take on someone else. Like, it's not just you. Yeah. Learning how to live that, like... oh, I can't just do this tonight because, like, I'll be out until 3 a.m. and then this person's waiting on me just to check in on me because they care about me and, like, damn, like... yeah,
it's a different way. Wild. Yeah, I get that.
And being someone that, like, I used to go out, like, all the freaking time.
Yeah.
Like, I go all the time. I drink all the time. Like, even before I started dating, I stopped drinking as much. I feel like this year's been a lot of, like... calm the fuck down. Yeah. Like, and I remember before I moved up here, one of my friends, my mentor actually, he used to just be like, Jeremiah, calm the fuck down. Just like, calm down. Because I was always like, I gotta do the next thing. What's the next thing? And I feel like I did when I got up here. Yeah. And then I also like got real wild. Cause
I'm a busybody too, man.
Yeah. It's like rough. Learning how to find that balance between getting your work done and being able to be there for that person. Yeah. And being able to have your own like space. It's not... I've been able to manage it from being a juggling act. Mm-hmm. I've not done as good as I can in terms of like my social aspect of being with other people, but learning how to incorporate that, acknowledging it, like, okay, cool. Like it's been me and my girl all the time.
I struggle with that
Let
too.
me figure that out and like kind of get that going.
I get that. I feel that just from like, I don't know, like I feel like I kind of get like a sense of like fatigue because I'm kind of always doing like stuff. Yeah. Like, I mean, like, I don't know, like it's rare that I have nothing to do for the evening. It's always something. And if I usually don't, then it's like, okay, well, let's work on writing. Yeah. You know, or something like that. And, you know, or like a date night.
Yeah. And like even with like relationships with friends and people. Yeah. Like
I'm so bad.
Like I've just seen how much like people from my past that have like kind of detached. I've kind of detached from them and they detached from me. And like just the way friendships have like rearranged itself.
I feel like I really came to grips with that this year. You know, like I have several, I don't know, just like friends that I grew away from, and it was kind of, it's really interesting because I feel like, you know, I think especially like going through my wedding was like a time of reflection for me. Not because I was like preparing for the end or anything like that. Right. Yeah. But like. You know, I mean, you can only invite so many people to your wedding. Yeah. Because, you know, I like to think that I'm friends with, like, everybody.
You know a lot of people.
Yeah, and I do. Dude, know a lot of just people. Between our two families, it was, like, over 100 people. Oh, wow. And I was like, that's a lot, you know. But, like, I don't know. Like, I looked at the people I had as groomsmen, and I was like, wow, like, these are people that I consider to be, like, my closest friends. Mm-hmm. Or amongst them, obviously. You know, I had 10. I could have had 10 more. Nice. No, but like I don't know. I spent a lot of time kind of thinking about like who came and who didn't, and I don't know. It was kind of a moment where it was like, wow, like the people that have really stuck around in my life over these years have stuck around. Yeah. And like that's kind of a mutual thing. Like, you know, I mean, I have friends that were up there with me who I don't call all the time, but it's for some reason or for one reason or another, we manage to catch up every now and again because I'll text them or they'll text me, and you know, and I just think that's a really cool thing. And I think at one point I used to hold myself more accountable for why friendships fizzled. But I think I realized that like it's up to the two of you.
Yeah, and know? That's the thing that I've definitely grown accustomed to, because towards the beginning of the year I started reaching out to like 2 or 3 friends. I had like every couple of weeks I'm gonna make sure I like call you and all that stuff, and then like it wasn't reciprocated. And it wasn't out of like, oh, fuck you, dude. It wasn't anything like that. It was just life and different. And it was relationships that I realized I was trying to hold on to. Yeah. And not that we look down on each other in any type of way. It's just like...
But you're just different people.
Different people, things. And like we've grown up. And like, not necessarily grown up, not to say that people are childish, but like we are in different places in life. Yeah, yeah. And like, and it doesn't always function like that.
I think that's exactly how I feel too, about stuff like that. And like it's hard because I don't know, when you talk about that sort of thing, it's really easy, I think, to give off the impression that you I don't know, maybe like don't value someone as much or like down upon it. And it's like, it's not like that. It's just, you know, things change. Yeah. And I don't know, you only have so much bandwidth. Yeah. You know, especially like, I mean, you're busy, you do things a lot, and it's like, it's not that I don't love the people that I don't call, or it's not that I don't love the people that I don't have a hard, or don't call. Yeah. but like, I mean, it's just, I'm trying to be my own person, and that's pretty hard. It's not that I don't love you. Yeah. Like,
and that's one of the things I've seen too this year is like, there's been some relationships where I'm like, I can't consistently put myself in that, because it's not that it's negative, but I know I'm very impressionable because I'm always trying to get help from everybody and trying to hear things, so I like have the best perspective, quote unquote, and like like the best perspective to see like what's the best option, but like, and I remove myself from it when it's like my life and my decisions, and so I'm having to learn how to like own that and just be like, you can't always run to everybody for input. Yeah. And like, yes, you do have people that you do go to for input for a lot of times, but sometimes you are gonna have to be like,
call shots. Okay,
I know what I'm feeling, and I know what I'm being led, and I've just got to take it.
Dude, huge. We're living a lot of the same shit, man. Yeah. I went through a lot of that with different things, like, you know, be it the wedding, be it like the kid, because like that's one thing that's happening right now with like us having a kid in question, is like you get a lot of like advice. Whether it was solicited or not, which is cool, but like there's a certain moments like, hey, like that's cool, but I'm gonna live my life this way. Yeah. And that's really cool that you have this opinion about this other thing, but like it's not, but that's not what I want to do. You know. And I don't know, I feel like maybe this is what like becoming like an adult, or maybe adult's the wrong word, but like your own person is really all about, is not never needing anybody.
Yeah, but realizing how much you need yourself. Yeah. And how much you need to like trust yourself.
Yeah, and being able to trust yourself when it counts. Yeah. You know, especially for things that count. For you. You know. But yeah.
Now, Lane, comes a part in the episode where our previous guest asks you a question.
Whoa, that's cool.
Yeah, it's super fun. It's super great. Would you like to know who our previous guest was?
Yeah, who was it?
I'm not going to tell you because our listeners don't know unless they've been following along. And if you would like to know, go back to the last episode and listen to that episode. And then come back and listen to Lane answer the question. Damn. Lane, are you ready for this question?
Hit me.
So our question from our previous guest for you is, if you could change one thing in your life, what would it be? One thing. What would that thing be?
I wouldn't change anything. Okay. Yeah. I think that everything that happens has led me to where I am, and I'm grateful. Yeah. There's been good, there's been bad, but I feel like I'm who I am because of it.
And that's one of the things we kind of talked about after she asked the question. It was like, I don't know, like, I'm pretty sure I can find like one thing, but I'd find something that's super minuscule that I don't think would affect like all of the other choices and things that have affected me in life.
Yeah, there's definitely things that come to mind, but
Yeah.
but if I had the opportunity, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
You know.
Nice.
So I'd take it on the chin.
Hell yeah. Lane, what is your question for our next guest?
So my question for the next guest would be, if there's out of all the days of your life, what's the one that you think has impacted you the most, for better or worse?
Dang, that's really good. Because I can think of multiple days.
Yeah.
Dang.
You had to pick one, though. Just one.
For me, it'd probably be my birth. For better.
Okay, minus that one. Minus that one. You can't say birth.
Nice. Awesomeness.
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
No birth, though.
All right, no birth. No
Yeah.
birth. Lane, thank you so much for being on Perspectives.
Thanks for having me, bro.
You're one of my favorite people. This has been awesome.
Same. I feel like every time we talk, we're like on the same page, but we haven't talked about it.
But we haven't talked about it.
We refused to speak before this podcast.
Yeah, we did. So I called him, Tuesday? Monday or Tuesday
Yeah.
night? And I was like, we talked for like maybe 3 minutes. And then I was like, we can talk for like another hour, but like, let's savor the podcast.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what this is going to be cut down to, but currently we're at an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So I might cut it down to an hour. I don't know. We'll see, because we'll see what happens. But as always, you can find me, Jeremiah, on Instagram at Parkour Geek, and that is PARKOURG33K. You can find me on YouTube at A Token's Take, ATOKEN''STAKE. You can find me on Facebook at Jeremiah Stephenson, but if I don't know you, I'm not gonna fucking add you. Lane, what would you like to plug as we close out?
If you do want to follow me and see what I do, I do post some of my music stuff on Instagram, some of the movies and stuff I work on. My Instagram tag is obnoxious. No, that's not the tag. Skip that. My Instagram tag is it's dumb. No,
it's not dumb.
Right.
Not dumb. It's unique to you.
Okay.
It's you.
My Instagram tag is JHNLNSLV,
which is
John Lane Silva with no vowels.
Who is you?
It's me. Yeah. If you're interested in checking out some of the music I've worked on, you can check out Goodfires on Spotify or Apple Music or Amazon.
And Google Play, bitch.
Oh, and Google Play.
And Google Play.
Just for Jeremiah and the one other person that listens to it.
Fuck you, Google. I didn't even say, hey, Google. Continue, sorry. Shut the fuck up.
How rude. You kidding me? You better get your Android in line, bro.
Jesus.
Cool background.
Thank you.
Yeah, but you can check out Goodfires on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, and Bandcamp and stuff like that. Our most recent release was Everyone You Love Will Be There, and please check it out. Thanks.
Yeah. Lane, again, thank you. Everybody else, be love, be life, be.